if you're hoping to apply to medical school, you have probably checked out some of the PreMed forums that exist online. And today I want to take a little bit of time to just talk about these forums and talk about some of the things that students need to look out for in these forums, some resources that they can use to validate or verify information that they find there, and hopefully some questions about why students frequent these places that will help you think critically about the information that you do find when you're there. Before I get into all of that, hi, my name is Dr. Sarah Klebe, and I'm an admissions expert at BeMo. So I want to be really clear to start off that I'm not here to throw shade on PreMed forums. I'm not here to name specific forums or anything like that. I'm not interested in participating in that at all. What I am is someone who has been an educator at the university level for my entire working life, and someone who is deeply invested in student success. I want students to thrive. I want them to do well. I want them to achieve all of the things that they set out to achieve. And I've devoted my life, my vocation to doing just that. And I understand why PreMed forums have such allure. Students are looking for information. They're looking for validation, even sometimes just looking for commiseration with people that they believe are going through the same things that they are going through. Preparing those applications and preparing just in general for medical school can be incredibly emotionally taxing. It can be socially isolating, intimidating, stressful, expensive, and it is perfectly natural for students to want to seek out advice wherever they can find it and surround themselves with people who they, again, think are going through the same things that they are going through. The fact that these forums are free and easily accessible makes them even more attractive. But there's a lot of things that you need to be wary of on those forums, even above and beyond the fact that much of the advice is a little cringeworthy at times. So, there are all kinds of free, reliable, expert pieces out there on medical school admissions, composed by people who are deeply devoted to student success. PreMed forums are absolutely not the only place to find free information. There are all kinds of blogs and podcasts and videos and YouTube channels and university websites and the AAMC website, all of these places where you can get verified or verifiable information that is legitimate and trustworthy. There is a lot of misinformation and inaccuracy that takes place in some of these forums, even when that information is given in good faith. That's a pretty big if, and I'll get into that in just a minute. If you just want a space to connect with others who are going through the same kinds of things as you, that's completely understandable, and I'll talk about that more in just a little bit. But if you're really looking for actionable advice, PreMed forums are simply not the best resources out there, and sometimes they can do as much harm as good. So, first and foremost, let's think about the idea of peer review versus peer support. So if you're familiar with the academic context, peer review is the system that all academic works have to go through before they are published. Anything that you found in an academic journal or in a book in your university library has gone through peer review, which means that the author submits the text for other experts in that field to read, review, and comment upon before it's ultimately published. Most works will go through several rounds of revisions with these peer reviewers before they are ultimately deemed publishable. And obviously, online forums don't have that. Anyone can post just about anything as long as they're within the community standards and guidelines. People can fabricate any story that they want. People can put just literally any information out there as long as it's not excessively inflammatory or, racist or sexist or something like that. But mistakes, errors, inaccuracies, or even flat out lies can slip by. We all know the maxim, you can't believe everything you read online, and yet a lot of us fall victim to that all the time, simply because the place where we're getting the information seems like it is authoritative, and it isn't always the case. So, if you're going to a forum looking for peer support, camaraderie, empathy from others, just a place to vent and get your feelings out, that's a very different thing than going there looking for reliable, actionable advice to help you further your education and perfect your application to medical school. So, if that's what you're looking for, that community, that's understandable. Humans need community. We need to feel heard. But if you're going to become an expert, being able to discern information and its validity is absolutely crucial. And when there's so much at stake, your goals, your dreams, your entire future, it's not worth risking all that when the source, the content, and even the context of information can be incredibly problematic. So, what we're really talking about here is authenticity and the ability to actually validate that authenticity. We know that there's a ton of artifice online. Very few people are who they say they are online. People put just weird, untrue things out there just for the sake of putting weird, untrue things out there sometimes. And there's no reason that we should think that open public forums of any kind would be immune to that. It may seem obvious to say that you don't actually know who you're talking to, but that is the case. And it's not just that you don't know that, who someone is actually who they are, who someone says they is actually who they are. You don't even know if they have your actual best interests at heart. And so any information that you're given, because it can't necessarily be validated, because you don't know if that person is being authentic, because you don't know if they are simply making things up, you have to take that information with that proverbial grain of salt, because you don't know if they have your best interest in mind. And in fact, they may not have your best interest in mind. So, there are sort of three, I think, categories that we can put people into in any kind of online forum, not just PreMed forums. We have people who are well-intentioned, genuine helpers, and bless those people. We need more people like that in the world who are contributing simply because they genuinely want to see others succeed. They want to share their information. They want to share their success stories. They want to share their missteps, the advice that they have, that they've built, that they think that has served them effectively moving forward. And they are, heroes, and they deserve our appreciation under any circumstances. But even in this ideal context, there are some issues with the information that is shared in PreMed forums. First and foremost, if someone's sharing their success story, that's awesome. But what works for one person is not likely to work for everyone. Medical schools participate in holistic review of each candidate. They look at your numerical data, your scores, your GPA, and things like that. But there's also a lot riding on that more personal information that you express in your personal essay, if you have to write essays, in your secondary essays, if you get those. I know every med student wants to figure out that one secret to gaining admission to medical school, that one thing that every successful applicant has or does or doesn't do. And there are a lot of people who claim to know exactly what that thing is, but the truth is so much more complicated than that. There are certain fundamentals that have to be maintained. You're probably not going to get into a medical school with a 2.0 GPA. But, two people can have nearly identical CVs, nearly identical GPAs, nearly identical MCAT scores, but one might get an interview invitation and the other might not, because those evaluations aren't just quantitative. There are so many factors that go into the review of your application, even before getting to the interview stage, and there isn't one singular guaranteed path to medical school. And, building on that, the advice that's offered by others isn't going to give you a full picture because, first off, someone might have some genuine or think they have some genuinely good advice, but all they really understand is what did or didn't work for themselves. And even then, they only have a partial picture because you don't actually figure out, you don't know, you're not told what it was that made you such a strong candidate, that got you that invitation to interview, or that got you that acceptance letter. They don't make those evaluations public. They publish their numerical data, what the average GPA was, what the average MCAT score was, and all of that. But even if someone is telling you what they think made them a strong applicant, even they only have a partial picture, and the one thing that they think that they have that put them over the top may not actually be what put them over the top, because those things just aren't made public. So even if someone has the best interest, your best interest at heart, even if they are trying to help you succeed, they aren't able to give you a full picture of what it was that got them that interview invitation or that got them that acceptance letter. They just don't know, and neither do you. And so going by what they tell you worked for them, it may not have been what worked for them, and it may not work for you, because one size simply doesn't fit all in this case. Now, on the other end of the spectrum are, the kinds of people that we don't really want to think about, but that are nonetheless out there. We know that med school admissions are cutthroat. Competition can be ruthless, and these kinds of public forums can draw out from the woodwork saboteurs, people who intentionally want to give desperate people bad information and advice so that they fail. People who see other people's failures as successes for themselves, because that means one less person to compete with. And, we don't want to think about this. People like myself who have devoted their lives to student success, who have mentored students and helped them develop as professionals and as people, to people like that, this idea is really chilling, that someone would go out of their way to set people up to fail. And it's a sad reality, but it is a reality nonetheless. And so, because there isn't any way to verify the credibility of the people who are posting, because it's not possible for every single contributor to be fully vetted, and every post checked for its accuracy, there are opportunities for bad faith contributors to exploit that system and intentionally give out bad information in the hopes that you will fail. So, we want to believe the best of everyone, and I get that. We want to think that everyone has our best interest at heart, and I get that too. And I wish that was the world that we lived in, but it's just not. So if we think about those people who succeed in this field, those people with 3.8 GPAs, people who are leaders in their communities, people who are humanitarians, people who are practicing physicians, how much time do you think that they have every day to post on public forums? Not much, if any. That's not to say that there are no doctors, top students, humanitarians, etc. posting online. Absolutely. Most people have some form of social media presence these days. And there's this overlap between our online and offline lives now. There are people who are able to merge those together. And so obviously you'll find some of those professionals, but the chances that they are all of the people populating online forums giving advice is very small. That's very unlikely. That's not to say that no one who's posting there are these sort of top tier professionals or thriving students, but just that most of those people don't have hours every day to spend posting on public forums. Most of them would have actually their own YouTube channel or their own blog or their own social media arena where they can give out their information rather than navigating the sort of labyrinthine structure of some of these forums. So, and speaking to that structure, it's really easy to go into these forums and just kind of get lost for hours. Trust me, I know. I've looked through them, and sometimes you look down and you look back up and you're like, oh my goodness, where did all the time go? But the fact that these forums can be imprecise, unverifiable, and a little bit messy, that the content really needs a lot of consideration before taking it as actual wisdom, means that you can spend an awful lot of time there and not get a whole lot of value out of the time that you're spending. And right now, your time is precious. And it's only going to get more precious as things go forward. Soon your time is going to be your most precious commodity. And so you need to think now about where you are expending that time. If you're genuinely seeking information that's going to help advance you and your education and make your application the best it can be, it would be better spent on those verified platforms, on the individual blogs or YouTube channels or Instagrams or anything of those verified professionals who are there to give you free information and advice. And so I want to make it clear, I'm not here to say that, we and only we, BeMo, are the ones who can give you the information. No, there's tons of free information out there. We have tons of information on our blogs and in our videos and on our social media, but so do lots of other people who are invested in your success. And you should look around and find the people who are best for you, who suit your style, who make you feel like you're actually learning something and that make you feel positive and validated about your future. If that's not us, fine, go see someone else, because you're not going to advance if you're not learning from people who genuinely inspire you. So I want to make that really clear. But there are lots of avenues that you can pursue that aren't just online forums. So again, community, wherever it takes place, online or offline, is important. People, humans, we need to feel heard. We need to feel like we're supported by others who have gone through or are currently sort of experiencing the things that we're experiencing. We need empathy from others. And that's fine. Being able to commiserate with others, to get some kind of validation when you're going through a particularly stressful situation, that's necessary for your overall mental well-being and just sense of peace with the world. That's fine. And if you need to go to forums to get that kind of connection, I understand that. I don't want to downplay the community that can exist in some of these spaces. But if you genuinely want actionable information, listen to podcasts by reputable organizations and individuals. Go to the websites and blogs of reputable organizations and individuals. Go to the YouTubes and the various social media platforms of people who are established in the field, because they're out there and they want to support you. And they have information that you can genuinely use and tailor to your own self and your own needs, so that you're actually utilizing something that is effective and that you can trust. So that's my word on PreMed Forums and their use. I think they are better for that sense of community and that sense of peer support than they are for actionable information, simply because, again, we don't necessarily know who these individuals are. We don't know if they're verified professionals and that we can trust them. We don't know if they have your best interest at heart, or whether they're simply giving out misleading information because of the competitiveness of medical school. And even when they're giving genuine and well-intentioned information, the path through the entire application and admissions process is so vast and so complex, with so many factors, that even if they think they're telling you what worked for them, they actually don't know, because that information isn't made public. It could be something else entirely. So I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it was helpful. If so, please do go ahead, like it, share it with a friend who might benefit from it. You can follow us on whatever social media platform you're on right now for more access to our own free instructional and informative content. If you would like us to help you with your med school application, you can click the link that should appear either above or below this video to see our programs, or you can go to BeMoMedApplication.com to schedule your free initial consultation. We can set you up with an admissions expert to answer any questions you have and get you started on your preparations. We do have programs to suit any of your needs, and we're always happy to work with you to determine which plan will support you most effectively. Again, though, if you're looking for free resources, we have tons of those. Go to bemo.blog to get access to all of our blog articles, which of course are completely free, or go to bemovideos.com for access to all of our YouTube videos, which again are completely free and contain expert advice that you can tailor to your own needs and utilize to maximize your success. As ever, thank you so very much for your time. Take good care, and I'll see you next time.